Hello everyone, welcome back to this video series on Introduction to R Programming for Clinical SAS Programmers. In this series, we are exploring SAS programming feature equivalents in R Tidyverse package. In this video, we will see how to transpose data from wide format to long format. So in a previous video, we have seen how to transpose data which is organized in long format to wide format. So in this video, let us say we have data organized in this way. So where there is one record per subject and there is a column for each of the lab tests and the associated results for those subjects are stored on the respective rows for that subjects. So let us say we want to restructure it to a structure that way there is one record per subject per lab test CD. So and we want to store the associated results in a variable called lbstresn and we want to store the individual test names in a variable called lbtestcd. So the variables are being transposed. So we are indicating that test values using lbtestcd variable and the resulting values are being stored in a variable called lbstresn. So how do we get to this end result using SAS? Well, let's see that first. So here we are making use of transpose again. So we are specifying the name of the input data set using data is equal to option. In our case, this is called wide. So we are specifying that here. And then we are creating an output data set called long. So we are specifying that here. So, and then we have to specify the list of variable that needs to be transposed. We will have to specify that list of variables using var statement. As we want to keep the values present in uSubjID as a separate column, so we need to specify that on the by statement. So, and two other things that we are doing here is the by default when we transpose the values present in the header, the names of the column that are being transposed also appear on rows here. So we want to name that column which holds the names of the variable that are being transposed as lbtestcd. So we can do that using name is equal to option on the proc transpose statement, and we wanted to name the variable which contains the values in the transpose dataset as lbstresn. By default that would be named as col1 in proc transpose of SAS. So we are renaming that to lbstresn using rename is equal to dataset option. So we can transpose data to this structure using proc transpose of SAS this way. How do we do it in R? So how do we do it in R is like we have a function called pivot longer. So which means the data would be transposed to longer format. So for this we need to specify the name of the input data set as the first argument. So here in this case it is called wide. So I am specifying that here on the as the first argument here. And then we have a parameter called calls is equal to specify the list of variables that we'll have to transpose. So here in this case we want to transpose HGB, ALT and AST. So we specify the list of variables using C function. So it is kind of, let's assume that think it of like equivalent to %str of SAS macro language. So here we have to provide a list of variables and we have to separate them using commas. So again we have to separate our macro parameter this function parameters also with a comma. So let's try to remember it that way. You are kind of using the C function to provide a list of variables as if you provide the list of variables to something in SAS which contains commas using %str. So we are providing that list of variables using C function and then they are separated by commas in between, and that is passed to calls, that is equivalent to our var statement. And then we want to name the variable which stores the values of the names of the variables which are being transposed as lbtestcd. That can be achieved using names underscore to parameter. And then we wanted to rename the column which stores the values of those individual tests as lbstresn. So for that we are making use of values underscore to is equal to parameter of pivot longer, and then we are providing that name as lbstresn. Note that these are explicit text values, these are not the names of the variables. So whatever text we give here it in the quotes, so that would be used to name the column. So names to would be used to store the name the column which stores the values of the variables that are being transposed, and then stresn is being used to store the values. So Let's now jump to the demo of this. So let's organize our SAS and RStudio environment side by side, and let us try to run this piece of code. So which creates our input data set void. So let us open that and see. So here we have one record per subject and a separate column for each of the tests that are being done. And then we are making use of proc transpose to transpose this. So here we are specifying the name of the input data set using data is equal to option, specifying the name of the output data set using out is equal to option, and then we are making use of name is equal to parameter, name is equal to option to specify the name of the variable which stores the names of the variables that are being transposed. So let us try to run this piece of code and then see. So let us open our long data set and then see. So here use subj id, lbtestcd and lbstresn. And now let us try to execute the code which gives the same result in R. So we are making use of pivot longer. We are specifying the name of the input dataset as first argument, and then we are specifying the list of variables that have to be transposed using calls is equal to parameter. And then we are making use of this names underscore to parameter to name the column which holds the names of the variables that are being transposed. And then we are making use of values underscore to parameter to specify the name of the variable which stores the values that are being transposed. So let us execute these two lines of code. Before that, let's clear our environment. So let us run this code and then see, examine our long data set. So this is equivalent to what we got here in SAS proc transpose. So this is how we can make use of pivot longer to transpose the data which is organized in wide format to longer format in R. Thank you for watching. Keep learning.